So if you're still wondering on whether you should send a thank you note after a job interview, I believe this video will give you some very interesting insight as to not only why you should do it, but also how you should do it to make it more efficient. I got this idea while listening to Victoria Huvemeyer's audiobook, which I also linked in the video description. And it goes something like this. During an intense interview, especially for the virtual on-sites nowadays, you are expected to take notes, or at least not necessarily to write those notes somewhere if you don't have time, but at least to really remember how that interview went and make a debrief session immediately after if you want, to really take some takeaways from that job interview. For example, with the core competencies that they were looking for, or even take notes of the questions that you got asked. This is very common and very useful advice, in my opinion. Now, the idea of writing these thank you notes is within the context of linking the core competencies from the questions that you got asked with the actual thank you note. It could be different competencies for different interviewers. For example, in the case of Amazon interviews, it's well known that they screen you on different leadership principles in different interview rounds. So you could connect with your interview based on the leadership principle that they were screening you on, if you want, and you can most of the time spot that principle by the questions that you got asked. Let's take a couple of examples here. So if you got asked, tell me about the time when you did your best with a customer and they were still not satisfied, or when you came up with a creative solution to a problem you've been dealing with for some time, or tell me about the time when you had to adjust quickly to changes to which you had no control. Right? So given these three questions, you could produce something in the lines of the following thank you note. I'm confident that my ability to handle difficult customer situations, come up with creative solutions to problems, and work effectively in a changing environment will contribute to my success in X position with Y company. Also, one closing note here. If you have something that you wished you said in the job interview, but you forgot, or you only remember after the job interview, now it's also a perfect time to adjust. But I believe the trick itself, to communicate on the behaviors that would connect best with them, it's actually something really, really valuable and something that pretty much any job interview candidate should consider.